When you want to send it or share it, it goes into Photos, you open your Photos app, and you find the picture and then send and share. Yes, sir.
My granddaughter put something into my iPad, and I don't know how she did it, I never touched just a question, but there's like a little shadow up in the corner on the edge of the iPad, and I push that, and that takes a screenshot. Have you ever heard anything like
Yeah,
that?
there are some apps that do that.
Well, maybe that,
but
but
they're
it doesn't
not,
show us an app.
they're not
It shows a little
needed.
sheet. It's a strange area.
They're not needed, to my knowledge, they're not needed.
Yeah, okay.
You just push the two buttons.
I was going to say, I take a screenshot of all my, the bills that came in that I paid, you know, when you get an email, and I put them all in a folder for paperwork. That you can take a quick, instead of scrolling through your mail
Sure.
to find out how to pay it.
The other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Question I have, the screenshot that you took, it looked like it went to, I just went blank.
Photo?
No, it didn't go to photos, it looked like it went to a Word document.
No, it's a picture.
Yeah, okay.
It's okay. It's
Yeah,
a
when you
JPEG.
look at it, it looks like it's in notes.
Well, the new ones, and what this one did was it brings up markup, which Marilyn covered last meeting. And markup lets you then highlight or circle or whatever you want to do with it. Yeah, sure.
Just imagine, it is in Photos, and it's actually in a folder called Screenshots.
Right. Yeah, if you look, there are two
Now they
places.
call it
I'll just leave it, right? There are two places it goes. If I go to my Photos app, and I'm in Photos, down in the lower left there it says Photos, there's the picture of this guy right here, is the image I just took, right? And then if I go to Albums, when I look for my albums, because Apple always wants to put things where they think they're helping us, it's in the album called Screenshots, which is the left-hand one on the second row there. And that's the same picture, that the bottom one is the image that I just took. And you can see I took images during Hurricane Irma. So those pictures are the images off the weather app of what the track was for Hurricane Irma. Because I wanted to keep a record, and I took a photo record and a video record, and I have all those together. I'm putting together a little sort of thing. Should have done it already because the next hurricane's coming soon. But anyway, so it's either in the Screenshots album or in Photos, right?
It raises the question, can you do a screenshot on video?
Yeah, you actually can do a screenshot on almost anything. You can do a screenshot on FaceTime. You can just tell it to hold an image and it takes a picture.
Thank you.
So there were two other things I wanted to cover since we're talking about screenshots and images. How do I make a copy of something? You know, I'm reading paper. I know some of us will do that. I'm reading paper and I see something that I want to take an image of. How do I do that? There are two apps I would recommend to you all. They're very handy. Of course, you can take a picture of it, right? You just use the camera on our devices. But the two apps that I really like a lot, they're both cheap, they're both free. One is called Scanner Pro. It's this guy, I don't have it. I do have a tool that I can use. Aha. It's that image right there, yeah, who's helping me with that? Scanner Pro and Scan Biz Cards, and then Scannable. Scanner Pro is the one I like the best and I use it the most. And what makes it attractive, I'll show you how you use it. It's a free app.
The most?
Scanner Pro. It's the middle guy there, that guy right there. And what makes it attractive to me is it'll show you all your images, anything that you've scanned, and then there's a little plus. So I like things that are simple and visible. If I were using this, I would just take that plus and touch it, and then I get the camera, right? So if I wanted to take a picture of this document, I would just go look at it, And you gotta be a little careful about it, and it takes the image. And that image is now right there, that number 1. I will try to rotate it. Can I rotate it? Oh, because I froze it. Hold on a second here. I made my thing not rotate. Rotate. And then you can do editing, you can edit these things. You can do it twice more, sorry. You can do it twice more. It always scans into grayscale, that's my default. But if I wanted to make this black and white, watch what happens.
How do you rotate?
You just rotate that little guy right there where it says rotate.
Okay.
And then if I were gonna crop it, I could crop it. It's similar to a photo, but this is already cropped. And you see the parallax is a little bit different because I was just sort of taking it from here, trying to get the shadow, and not have the shadow on. And it makes it, and it brings it up as a rectangle. So it's very good if you're in a weird place and you have a weird shape. It will make the image and correct the image. And then you just say save it. And you can rename it and save it, and you put it in your collection of images. So that's one I like the best.
What type of document is it?
It saves it as a PDF, but you can export as a JPEG. So you can do either one, depending on what you're going to do with it, if it's an image or whatever. And I do things like that's a recipe, and I want that image to be a JPEG when I put it into my recipes book. So I'll take it and export it as a JPEG, and then I can import it as a picture.
Where do they go? Do they go to Scanner
They
Pro?
go to Scanner Pro, actually these, because I tell it to, goes to iCloud Scanner Pro, and then I can manipulate them just like any other PDF. There's a question back here.
Are the
I'm sorry, I
pictures-
have bad glasses on, so you're gonna have to sort of make sure I can see.
Are the pictures also going into your camera section?
No, these are PDFs and they go into Scanner Pro. But you can tell it where to go. It's very user friendly. And you can see I use them for all sorts of things, plans for things, our logo thing that we were doing, receipts. I think you say you use it for receipts. Scanner Pro is my default. And I have hundreds of these things. I just put them all in there. It's great. So that's one.
Marty, maybe
Yes,
this,
go ahead.
so when you want to go back and look at the document, you go back into that app to find, that's where they're all saved?
Yep, I go into Scanner Pro here, right? Scanner Pro, I open it, and then let's say I want to look at this bill, I just touch it and open it, and there it is. And of course I would rotate it.
And what, does it give you a choice to send a JPEG or PDF? Where does it say that? How do you do that?
When you export, when you do you have your little share box.
Uh-huh.
That little share box then gives you all your regular options, and one of the choices at the top is PDF or
That's one of them.
JPEG.
Can you make files?
Do you have a search function, or like something you want to dig up that's been a while?
Yeah, there's search right here. I don't want to
That did show it.
So if I were, well, I have to be in the image thing. Let's say I wanted to find my Tenneco things, I would just put Tenneco in there, T-E-N, if I can type it properly, T-E-N, and then it would go find anything that has 10. So here are the attendees. Any of the names of the documents that have 10 in them, and of course 10's a short thing. If I knew what I was looking for, more lack of it, I could do that. So that's one app. It's very nice.
Could you make files, or is it all just by the time you take it and then you search for it to get it?
Yeah, well, when it stores it, it stores it alphabetically. So as I change the name, it puts them in the right alphabet order. And then if I wanted to, I can take these out and I can move them, because it's in iCloud. It's in my iCloud drive. And then I can put them anywhere I want. And what I usually do is after I scan them, I put them into my regular files, so I know where to look. Because I don't want 300 scan
We
things.
have to leave during a hurricane, that would be a good place to keep the insurance policy.
Sure, yeah, sure. So that's one of them. Scannable is the other one. Scannable is the scanning program that comes with Evernote. And you can see it down at the bottom there, and then it opened up. It found the document, scanned it, and made a copy of it and fixed it all at once. Scannable comes with Evernote, and I think I talked about Evernote last week. Evernote is my notes. It's a free app for note keeping and things, but it's very handy because it does a lot of search functions. You can post to the web if you have a blog. You can make notes in Evernote, and you keep a copy, and then you post it to your web and post it to your blog. You can share if you're in an organization. So Evernote and Scannable work in tandem. And then the third one, just to really complicate you all, is scan biz cards. For those of us who still have biz cards from people, scan biz cards is a very good one. You can add a card, and I didn't bring a card, so I didn't do it, but let me just show you what it looks like. When you scan it, you have a choice of front and back, if it's got a front and a back, and then it goes through and it reads all the text and puts it into a format, and then that format can be transferred to your address book, or it can be transferred to Evernote. So you scan it. It's a free app. For syncing on the web, you have to pay. I think it's $8 or $10 or something. But it will read the card. It will take all the data off, and then you have to read it because it's just like any other OCR, optical character reader. Sometimes the E doesn't look quite like an E, and the 3 doesn't look quite right. So you have to fix those things. But in terms of work, it really saves a lot of.
What's the name of that?
A lot of work. Sorry?
What is the name of that?
This is called Scan Biz Cards. SCANBIZCARDS. So those are 4 ways to get things into your computer. Questions about any of that? Screenshots really work well, and then these Scanner Pro and Scannable. I didn't put Scan Biz Cards on here. I won't do that right now.
Marty?
Go ahead.
OCR, do they all do some level of OCR? Or
They all do? Yeah.
They all do, so they will recognize the text and scannable, you can search the content.
Yeah, good. Some of them are better than others. Yeah. Now,
2 comments about screenshots. One is, last week I talked about making the slides on Keynote on the iPad, and a lot of the things that I put into the slides, I did with screenshots, and then in photos, crop them to what I wanted, either a piece of text or whatever, a piece of photo or something like that. The other thing about screenshots that's interesting, at least for me, is I have a printer that's a photo printer category. So it has a separate cartridge for photo paper and regular paper. So for example, if I would screenshot a recipe, which I love to do when I'm on the internet, and it goes into photos, when I try to send it to my printer, it will only go to the photos, from photos on the iPad. It thinks it's a photo, and so when it goes to the printer, it goes to the photo cartridge and not to the paper cartridge. So sometimes I just have to email it to myself rather than try to print it directly. But a lot of screenshots, things that you can do, really work in photos because you can edit them. Like if you take something off the internet and you don't want all the other junk around it, you just want the piece that you want. You just go into Photos and to edit and crop it, and
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, some of the stuff here, when we had Hurricane Irma,
Use reader viewers, is that?
you know, this is the image that I took of the screenshot, but I, you know, when I use it in the thing that I'm writing, I may not need all this stuff on the side. I may just need an image of that, you know, severe weather thing coming over. So then in Photos, as Marilyn said, you can crop that and make it what you want, and then import it. Sure. Yeah, these are images, so you can do anything with these that you do with a regular open. Sorry, I turned it off, so now I got to turn it back on. Having taken an image, then the question is, okay, how do I share things? Does everybody know how to share a contact?
no.
No. Who knows how to share a contact? Okay, so come up here and show us. All right, I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about AirDrop and AirPlay, but how to share a contact is where I started. So let me do that. In your address book, this is so easy. You're going to wonder why I'm covering it. Here's Marty Dorio. Now, in my address book, Marty Dorio appears in two places, right? Marty Dorio appears at the top where it says my card, right? You all know that, right? It says there, Marty Dorio, my card. Has my little happy face, right? Does everybody have a my card?
Yes.
Oh, what?
A my card.
Does your face come up at the top? Or you have to scroll down and find it? All right, we'll come back to that. If you don't have one, we'll come back to it. But let's say I wanted to share this. I just touch on my card, right? And my business card comes up, says secretary Nmug, and then it says send a message to me or share the contact. So it's nothing more difficult. Oh, what is it? 10 bucks. Oh, that's 2. 10, 20. I want those knit dime. That's it.
That was me.
20 bucks.
Not me.
Thousand.
Oh, 1,000. So share contact, right? So I find the contact I want to share, I touch share contact, and guess what it brings up? Our happy sharing things, right? I can send it by Evernote, I can AirDrop it, I can mail it, I can message it, or I can put it in a file so I could do something with it later, right? Now, if I were going to AirDrop, anybody who has AirDrop open would appear there. So Ed has AirDrop open. If I touch Ed's little icon, EE, I would send him my card, just like that. If I touch George's, I would send it to George. And anybody who has their AirDrop open, here's Bob Kelly, Mary Condon, Gloria, Vincent Kelly, somebody whose name is iPhone. Is that iPhone? Are you iPhone? Go ahead, you have a question.
Yeah. How did you bring up that little screen with your choices on it?
Share contact, right? And share contact brings up the normal ways to share things, right? It brings up AirDrop, it brings up messaging and emailing, it brings up saving it to files, and if I had other apps in here like Gmail, right? Or OneNote, or ICQ, or Outlook, or Yahoo Mail, or Newsroom, or Work Documents, I could share it using any of those other techniques. So any of these apps that relate to sharing will appear here. So if I have a Gmail account that's not in my mail account, I could send it through Gmail. AirDrop is the one we were talking about. The requirement for AirDrop is you have to turn on AirDrop, right? And the way you do that is you open your control center, right? Everybody knows how to do that. Put your finger at the bottom, put your finger at the bottom and scroll up like that. I'm going to put my finger at the bottom of my iPad and I'm just going to push up. And it brings up all my open pages and it brings up my control center, right? This guy is your airdrop symbol. It's like a closed fan. So put your finger on that and open it. It says airdrop everyone. You have some choices. You have nobody, you have airdrop contacts only, and you have airdrop everyone. I have airdrop everyone on because I teach airdrop. I want people to know about airdrop, like we're doing today. So if I touch airdrop everyone, then then my face will appear on all of your devices when you want to share with me. If you touch airdrop everyone, you'll have the opposite. You'll appear on mine. So Arlene is trying to send me a contact card. I can accept it or decline it. If I accept it, it goes into my contacts because it's a contact. And the computer is smart. It knows that I'm getting a contact, so it puts it into contacts, right? So some people have contacts only there. If I'm not in your address book, then you couldn't see what I'm going to send you. I keep it to everyone. There's no risk to keeping it open to everyone because you have to say yes or no. You have to accept or reject, right? Okay, questions about that?
Yes, if you're using an iPhone, how do you get the airdrop?
Same way. Oh, push up from the bottom. Is it an iPhone 10 or?
It's an 8.
It's an 8. So get your control center. Get your control center. Put your finger down and move slowly so that you get the control center, and then find the.
She would probably use, AirDrop doesn't show up automatically. You have to use haptic. You use your finger on the 4 icons. On use, it happens to be there. On a normal iPhone, it doesn't happen to be there, I think. So you have to push it, and then 2 additional icons will show up.
You have a green one on your phone, don't you?
On the 6S, you have
That's the one you want. Push the green thing. Hold it in. Push it in, hold it in, and then that will open.
Well, let me do this. I can't figure it out. Oh, got it.
No, you have to hold that in. Put that, the top one, right? There you go.
Oh, okay.
So when you get the little antenna thing, hold it in. That's what Eckhart means by the haptic typing. I don't know why they make these menus. They're making menus 3-dimensional, so that's all.
Marty,
Yes.
I'm not getting that little airdrop symbol on my control center.
So you have something that looks like that?
No.
You have something that looks like an antenna. Put your finger on the antenna and hold the antenna. Let me see what I can do without, I'm going to turn it off. If you put your finger on it and hold it in, it will give you a menu that looks like this. It'll say airdrop everyone, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and then that one is the one you want to hold in until you get the other menu.
Did you get it?
No, I don't see it.
Is AirPlay the same thing as AirDrop?
No.
No. Airdropping is when I want to send something to you.
I don't get it. It either turns my little antenna.
Everybody gets it, so just bear with me and I will show you how you get it. So on my phone, this is now my phone that I'm looking at, right? I've just opened my phone. My phone has this little green guy that looks like an antenna with beamy things, right? Put your finger on that and hold it. And when you hold it, you get a menu that looks like that says AirDrop, personal hotspot, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular data. And here's the AirDrop, the one that you want to play with.
I do not get that. Holding either turns the green on or off.
Yes, hold it a little longer. Push it. Because you have to hold it a little longer.
Oh, push it. Push it. Ah, push it. I got a 6S.
Yeah.
So you say there's no disadvantage to having it on everyone?
No, you might get I mean, if you're in a room like this, somebody might want to send you something. You know, if they see your name and they say, oh, I want to send it to you, you know, they might want to do that. Right? But then if not, you can make it contacts only, or you make it receiving off.
How do you get away from contacts only?
You push the button and you press everyone, or receiving off. This is a receiver, all you're doing is turning on a receiver.
Don, did you get it?
Yes, thank you.
Anybody who doesn't have it?
It's a hard tap.
Once it's on, it's on. You don't have it? Okay, are you on an iPad? Okay, so scroll up and find the control center. Here, put your finger here.
That's that.
Oh, because you're on the old system.
So you don't want to do that.
Yours has,
Actually set mirror, which is.
I don't know if you can you do airdrop on the old versions of,
I don't think so.
Not unless it has control center. Well, I don't know, maybe it's settings.
I have an old one.
Did you have to have iOS 11?
yeah, you might have to have iOS 11. What version do you want?
No, I have a 10. I don't know, it's great.
Yeah, you're on version 9. So
Oh,
Okay, so
those of you who are on version 9 should buy a new iPad. Since I'm a shareholder, I like people to buy new equipment.
Marty, could you enlarge the hurricane thing for me? I need to take a picture.
Can I do what?
Enlarge the hurricane part.
You want to take a picture of it?
Yeah, because I was hiding and the power was off and I like to have a picture.
Why don't I just send it to you?
Would you?
This is airdrop, right? So I can take, he wants a picture of this thing,
Yeah.
right? So how do I do that? I touch my little share box, and I hope your name is going to come up here.
Oh, I'm John's iPad, that's me.
Which one?
John's iPad.
No, I don't see it like that.
Yeah, it's there.
Jim's. Or Jim's.
No, Jim.
I have to turn it on.
And I'll do it after class.
There it
For
is.
mine?
It's on.
There you go. Nope, Jim's iPhone next. So your iPad's probably not called your iPad. It's called iPad.
John's iPad.
So once you decide to send something, and it prepares it, it takes a little while if it's a big picture. This is a handy way of getting things from your phone to your Mac, or from your Mac to your phone, or from your iPad to your phone. You got it? Yeah, so yours isn't called John's, it's called iPad. Right?
Well, that's the reason.
I'm just saying, if it's, not there. All right, so let's move on, because it's 12:06 already.
Can I
Somebody
just add
said
one
what?
thing,
I'm sorry. go
Marty?
ahead. Sure.
This is related to communicating. My grandson moved to a new apartment, and I asked him to send me his new address. So he sent it to me through messages. And when I went into his contact, I noticed that his new address was in there along with his old address. And there was a little I next to it. And I touched the I, and it said, Siri found this in messages. Would you like to put it into your contacts? And I said yes. So I did not have to type in the new address at all. I just had to delete the old address. So Siri recognized, or whatever, the computer recognized it as an address in messages.
Yeah, I meant to point that out earlier. This is the same contact we looked at earlier, because this is mine. But because what's in there is my secretary-enabled Nmug address, it also found this other one that I use, and it said, do you want, Siri found this in your accounts. Now, the little gray arrow, everybody knows gray arrows mean something, right? That's not news to anybody in this room, right? Gray arrows mean there's more information. So over here, there's a little gray arrow, which if you touch, shows you the address that it found, and then it says, do you want to add that to your contact or do you want to ignore it? So Siri is smart, right? A computer is smart. It finds things that are related and it says, do you want to add that to your contact? If you do, then you say yes, and it would put that in as a second email address. If you say ignore it, then it takes it out and it doesn't show you anymore. So I'm going to ignore that because I don't want to see that on this contact, which is my Nmug contact. So it gives you those choices. It'll do that with phone numbers, addresses, things that are related to the contact that you're looking at. Yes.
Marty, you said that this is a good way to send to your from iPad to your laptop or vice versa. But if you send it from your iPhone or your iPad, how is it received on your computer? What does it look like?
Same way. It's received, and if you receive things into your downloads folder, it will put them into your downloads folder. If you receive things and you say, I want them always on my desktop, that's a setting. That's a setting. So you can decide where you get your downloads from or where they go. And wherever they go is where you find them.
So do you give the instructions as to where it should go, or is it set up ahead of time?
It's set up ahead of time.
Okay.
But you have to have AirDrop turned on.
Right. You have to have AirDrop turned on the other device. So if I were going to send something from my phone, I do this all the time because I do what Marilyn did, set her up earlier. I'll take a picture from my phone and I'll put it into a presentation on my iPad or vice versa. It gets received and then I can do something with it. Okay, so I'm sorry to take new glasses, but right now I have 2 pairs and it's driving me crazy. All right, so let's just talk about AirDrop and AirPlay because we talked about earlier about what's the difference. AirPlay is what I'm doing from my iPad to the Mac, and the Mac is hardwired to the projector that you're seeing on the screen. Right? So when I make a change here, I'm playing it, and I'm playing it because I've put it in screen mirroring. And you see on your control center again, here is the name of our MacBook Pro, which is this device. If you're at home and you have your Apple TV, that will say the name of your Apple TV. Most of us call it Apple TV. So you can find an Apple TV, you touch it, and then you can play from your device to your Apple TV. Apple TV is connected to your TV or your projector, whatever. At home it's connected to our TVs. Then you'll be able to see it. So AirPlay is how you get stuff from a device to your Apple TV or to another device that you want to use as a receiver. AirPlay is just like a telephone tower. It sends signals to someplace else. Yes?
Jim Corsica, you're AirPlaying to a laptop without additional software?
Well, this is to reflector.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
But yeah,
In other words, you should point out that if you don't have that software, you can't do it on your
yeah, that's right. You can't do it direct from device to device.
But you can do it on an Apple TV.
You can do it on Apple TV. If I didn't have the reflector software, I would just take my Apple TV out and plug it in and do it.
Okay, I know that I can play on my Mac, I can play photos and music through my Apple TV. Is there a way to mirror, let's say I'm on the New York Times and there's a video, is there a way to mirror that to my...
Sure, because on your Mac, you have a little thing in the corner. You can't see my toolbar, but one of the things that I have on the toolbar there is a little Apple, a little AirPlay symbol. And that little symbol lets you connect to your Apple TV or whatever. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I AirPlay from my Mac to my TV all the time. Okay, other questions about that? Everybody's got it? No problem, right? There's a cool one, talking about sharing. How many of you share your calendar with other people? How many of you, only 4 of you? That's disappointing. How many of you have a bridge group, golf group, tea group, coffee group, book club, charity organization, church, synagogue, mosque, any kind of organization, like an Nmug, and you want to share a calendar. So in calendar is the one with the big 9, right? In calendar, down at the bottom, it says calendars, right? I'm on my iPad. On your phone, it'll look somewhere, it'll be somewhere different. On your Mac, it'll be up in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to touch one of those calendars. And I have a lot of different calendars, but the ones I want to show you are these ones. So here's a calendar that says Gail's calendar, shared by Gail Dorio. And here's one that says Marty's calendar, shared with Gail Dorio. What's the difference?
One is a boy, one is a girl.
That's good, but in this day and age, it might not. Marty's calendar is my calendar, right? It's purple because I picked purple. The little I gives you information about that calendar, right? Like, how do I change the color and all that, right? But then it says, shared with Gail Dorio. And she has accepted, and I have view and edit, so she has permission to view and edit my calendar entries. So if I wanted to share this calendar with somebody else, I would add a person. It would give me a place to put their name, and this little plus takes me to my address book, right? So I would put a name in there. I'm just going to use my own name, since I know my own name and that way I'm not bothering anybody. I put a new email address, and I say add. And when I say add, it's going to send me an email, and it's going to say here, pending, sharing that with myself or with you or whatever. Now, if I had a bridge group, and I wanted to share my bridge calendar with my bridge group, how would I do that? I would add the 4 names, the 3 names, or 6 names, however many I have, in add person, and they would all be added, and then they would share my calendar and any entries. And you can invite people that way, and they can reply that way, and when they reply, down here in the corner it says inbox, you see the little 1, that's a reply from, that's actually my wife making a change to something, and that's how I get told about it. So sharing a calendar is very straightforward. You can do it with 1 million people, or with 5 people, or with 1 person.
Now, on the sharing, say the group, some have Android, some have,
Yeah, it won't work with an Android.
It won't work with the Android, so in other words, they can't.
They can reply to you because it goes to them as an email. But
you can't share
generally
that
speaking, you
calendar.
can't share the calendar. What's nice about the calendar, of course, is when you make multiple colors like these. My colors are purple. My wife's colors are green. So I never have to worry about what calendar I'm looking at, or did she make a change, or do I have a conflict, or whatever. So it's a very handy way to get other people's information and your information. And it's constant, it's current. And then, of course, you just scroll, and there's last week, and next week is the same thing, We know where we are, when we are, and who's doing what. I use other colors. Some of you may be wondering why are there so many different things? Well, for example, that's the Nmug shared calendar that you get off our website, right? And then I test it with other addresses to make sure that it comes correctly. But the Nmug calendar is a shared calendar you get off the website. When you say accept it, share it, then it appears in here as one of those calendars. And that's what this purple calendar is here.
Now, you can do any one of those calendars that you want at any time.
Yes.
Marty, Bob Kelly,
Yeah.
when you share, let's say that with your wife, the calendar, does that give her access to all the other calendars that you see?
No.
Only to you and her sharing?
I could give her all.
Right.
All of it.
Okay, thank you.
See, I use my calendar as a to-do list. For example, the little yellow things up here are to-do items. I hate the to-do, there's not a good app for to-dos that I've been able to find. So I use my calendar as a to-do calendar. It lets me remember where things go, and the different colors are just for me, not for anything else. Dawn? Sorry, with the hand back there, something, Mary?
It's Mary Condon. How did you get day at a glance?
How did I get day at a?
You're looking at one day there, and I seem to have only month. I can look at the month.
Are you on an iPad or an iPhone?
I'm on an iPhone.
Okay, it's different on the iPhone.
Okay, how do you get there?
You don't get the same ones.
You can't see the day, every hour of the day?
Yes.
You see a single day on the calendar.
Yes, a single day you can see, but you
How-
can't
Yes,
say,
you know.
I can't see the single day. How can I see the single day on my phone?
On a phone, the calendar is, sorry.
Today, calendars and inbox.
yeah, today.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, on the dock,
It's the-
you have a
it's the
choice,
three little
today,
lines.
calendars, inbox.
Yes.
If you hit today, you get
Right.
an hourly breakdown.
Marty,
And I'm sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
Is there a way to get it to stop sharing? Because I've discovered if somebody sends me an email and says I had a great time on Tuesday, and then I want to delete that email because the word Tuesday was in there, somehow the calendar has gone to it and it won't let me delete that email even though I don't want it. It doesn't go in the calendar or anything.
Yeah, in calendars, if you go to settings, sorry, I lost my thing here. If you go to settings in calendar, if you go to calendar and settings, you have a show invitee declines. And I think that's what you're looking for. So go to calendar,
Yeah.
and then show invitee declines and turn that off. Because then it won't appear, the way I have it, if somebody declines, it still appears on my calendar.
Okay. All right.
So I think that's what you're looking
Thank you.
Marty,
for. Go ahead, sorry, you had a comment.
If I share a calendar with my wife, and I put something on the calendar like pick up birthday card for Cindy, my wife, and I don't want her to see it, I would have to put it on a different calendar.
Right. Yeah, if you put it on the calendar that you're sharing, she's gonna see it, right? Okay.
Right, I'm not sure, but I think that you set up iCloud family sharing, that automatically creates a shared family calendar.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's an alternative, I don't use that.
It has,
Takes care of
it
George's problem.
Takes care of it.
Because
You still need the same one, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it creates a separate calendar. Ed's point is the following. If you go to iCloud, and you go to family sharing, so I'm in settings, iCloud, and then here it says, sorry, that's iCloud. Here it says family sharing. When you decide to family share, you can decide which things you share, including your iCloud storage or your purchasing, whatever. And where is it here? Where you can decide the calendar. Where's the calendar? Where's the calendar?
It's just, for me, I think it just created a calendar called family.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
So I have one of those now? Because I'm sharing my iCloud storage. I don't see it, but I'll believe what Ed says.
Mine says, it's under iCloud, mine says family.
Okay.
It's,
This is icon here, but I don't have one. But anyway, there may be a setting somewhere.
and there's other features on that besides just the calendar.
Yeah.
Like you can share location. It's really good if you're trying to find somebody, like a kid.
Or your long lost husband.
Yeah, right. Or you can also share some iTunes stuff.
My wife wants that so she can track me.
Right.
Yeah, you might want to think before you automatically share a calendar with somebody if you really want to share.
Now, we talked about how to share a calendar. How do I invite people to an event using calendar? It's a similar process, right? I just want to cover that because it's sort of a different way of sharing. But if I were going to make a new event, so we'll just call this GGG, it's for 12 o'clock tomorrow. And then in this event, I have invitees. And it works exactly the same way, except I'm not sharing the whole calendar. I'm just sharing an event, right? So if I wanted to put in here the names of the people, if I wanted to put George in here, I would get George Rubin, and it would bring up his addresses. I would send him an email, and it would invite him to that event for tomorrow.
So it doesn't put it on a calendar?
It doesn't put it on, well, it puts it on my calendar, but it sends you an invitation that says, you want to come to that.
So if I want to remind my wife that we're going somewhere, that's what I would do?
Can you call it contacts?
Yeah, that comes from contact. That comes from your contact. That's a little puzzle. So sharing calendars, you can share a whole calendar, or you can share an event. Okay. Okay, I got 5 minutes left. Everybody knows how to move icons around? Anybody who doesn't know how to move an icon?
Don't be afraid of it.
This is a good chance, right? I know how to do it, so it's important. Everybody knows how to move an icon into a folder and out of a folder? You know what I mean by folders? Okay. When you look at my desktop, I have a bunch of icons that are just little graphics. And then I've got this gray guy, right, that looks like it has a bunch of stuff in it. And I have this gray guy that has a bunch of stuff in it. Those are folders. So here's a folder where I put all my clouds in one folder. Now how did I get them into that folder? It's the old squash a bug trick, right? If you put your finger on an icon, hold it in until it wiggles, right? Now it's a squash bug. It's still under your finger. So now I want to smear it across my desktop and put it in that folder. I hold it until the folder opens. I let it go. It's still shaking. How do I stop it from shaking?
Home button.
Home button. Now that's in my folder, right? But it's not a cloud, so I don't want it in my folder. I want to take it out of my folder. How do I do that? Same process. Hold it until you squash the bug. It's shaking. Drag it out. Make sure the folder closes. And then you put it back where you want it. You touch the home button and it stops shaking. Same process to move it from screen to screen, right? I hold it and I move it, and I can scroll and I can move it and move it. And everybody knows at the bottom there are 10 circles, and those 10 circles are how many pages of icons you have. Why do I have so many?
Got so many icons.
Because I have so many icons. Because I have a lot of people who say, well, what about? And then I go test something or whatever, and I organize them by date. You know, somebody asked me about all these different social media things. So I put them all on a page because I can't be bothered to remember where the heck they are. I put them on a page, all my social media is on one page, right? And I put researching things on a page and whatever. So I have a page of different icons, and you can just move them across page by page. Yes, sir.
There was I think George shared this with us, but there was a great trick. When you had your bug squashed with one finger, you can use your other hand and move the screens underneath it.
Right.
When you're trying to move between screens, which has always been a problem.
Sure, because the way to do it is if I hold this guy in, I can move it by moving the icon, or I can move it by moving the page, it'll be the icon alone. Just depends on how you want to move your icon.
The other thing you can do is put it in the dock temporarily.
Right. The other thing Marilyn's point is you can drag it down here, right? That's temporarily, then I get to the page I want and I bring it back up again. My students just move it page by page because we're good in washing bugs.
Marty,
Yes.
how did you have the example you used where you had the iCloud folder? How did you set up that folder to move stuff into?
Oh, you just put something on top of another. Like these are all my food things, right? So let's say I was going to make a food folder. I put my finger on there and hold it. I put this guy on top of this guy, and I make a folder.
Okay.
Now, the question is, now I've made a folder, and it's called folder. I don't want it to be called folder. So I put my finger up there and I make the cursor. See it's flashing, right? I just touched it. I can make that folder now say food. I hit return, and now my folder says food. So you just put it on top of it. And sometimes when you lose an icon, that's where it is, right? It's in a folder someplace.
Sometimes it gives the folder a name because it recognizes, does it
Right.
still do that?
Sure. Sometimes it'll recognize that it's food and it'll say, I want to call it food, or productivity, or some other name thing. That leads me to the last point, 12:29, I have one more minute. I've moved these icons, but then the question is, how do I find them? Especially if they're in a folder. Does everybody know how to find an icon when you're looking for it?
Yes.
No. How many of you have ever lost an icon? Oh, come on, the rest of you certainly. I lose them every day. Because when you're dragging them around, sometimes you drag them around and you lose it and it gets plucked somewhere. That's it. Put your finger in the middle of your icons, in the middle, without touching an icon, and push down, right? Put your finger in the middle and push down, and you get the search bar at the top. How many of you know how to do that? How many of you knew that happened? So you learned something. It's worth $25. Please leave the $25. So this is a search bar. Let's say I was going to look in here and I was going to look for the total line thing. I don't know where it is. I put the word total, or if I put the word tote, or if I put the word to. So you put the minimum amount of letters that will make the thing that you're looking for come up, right? And it gives me my choices right away, right? I can find to, I can find Tony to Rita, and Tom and Tom, or I can find these icons, or I can find these files, or I can find things inside Evernote that have the word to, or in my notes, or things that I've labeled in Scanner Pro, which is the app we talked about earlier, or dates in my calendar, or mail, or my other mail in Outlook, or my podcasts, or my Safari, or my contacts, or my iBooks. So I'll make this say total, which is what I was looking for, right? And it still gives me total, but it gives me all these different choices.
Is it still the same on the phone?
I'm sorry?
Still the same on the phone?
Same on the phone. You put your finger in the middle and scroll it down until you find the search bar. And this is called what? Spotlight on our Macs, right? And Spotlight is the search engine that categorizes every character in every file on every device. It lets you find it.
I don't see that on the phone, but from the home screen, if you just swipe right, is that the same thing?
Yes.
I don't know why you don't see it on the phone. Is there not a search bar at the top on the phone?
No.
If you're on the home button,
On the 10.
if you're on the home page,
I'm
you're
pushing
going to
on
make me connect it, and I'm going to show you that it's there.
But that doesn't really find, it'll let you open the app, but is there a way to find where it is?
Well, once you know it's there,
In the
in
center?
the corner there, it says in the corner there, it says it's in the folder called food, right? Top hit, total line, food.
If it wasn't in a folder, would it tell you on screen 42?
Good morning, brothers and sisters, so when you send me this last.
That's almost £1,000.
Yeah, it doesn't give me where page it is.
And now they've decoupled it from iTunes. You used to be able to edit all your stuff on iTunes. You can't do that anymore, right?
I'm not aware of that, Don. You can't do what?
Well, you used to be able to move icons around on iTunes, but I read somewhere that.
If you plug your phone into your computer.
Yeah, sure. You can still do that.
You can
It
still
still
do
shows
that.
your pages, though. No, it doesn't. It counts.
Well, the current iTunes, they took that away. You can't see your screens anymore.
Right.
But at the bottom, it says share, the last choice. Oh, man, I'm gonna have some lunch. You collecting all this money? I'll check it when I get home, but I encourage you to. When you plug in your phone or you plug in your iPad, at the bottom in iTunes, when you open your device, it says something like shared applications, because those are the applications that you can move things from one device to the other. I thought it showed the picture.
It used to show your screens.
Right, it would show the thing.
And you would be able to move the icons between the screens. That, as far as I know, that's gone.
Oh, I didn't know. Because I never do that. I mean, it's so easy to do this.
Did you,
I got a question back on moving stuff.
Sure.
I just ran across, I'm not sure what the problem is, but when I hold down, I can't get them to wiggle. And I think it's because all my screens are full. Have you run across that?
No, but there are differences. I don't know if you saw what I was doing here. Like I can drag this without making it wiggle. I can just put my finger on there and drag it. And just do that and make it without the wiggling part. And that's a new feature in the, I think it's in 11.3 or 11.2, where you don't have to worry about wiggling. You can just drag and drop now. And the other thing is, it used to be that if you only had one icon in the folder would go away, but it doesn't do that anymore either.
What if you can't get it to wiggle?
Because sometimes they don't wiggle, it's just drag and drop them.
I can't get it to move.
You can't get it to move.
No, I hold on like this. It comes up with a share or something, it won't move. I mean, it eats.
Okay, so,
did you say just hold this phone and it's supposed to come up? It doesn't.
No.
You said the center?
Swipe to the right.
No. Put your finger between the icons and scroll down.
Oh, scroll down.
Yeah, scroll down so that you're doing the search bar. Scroll right.
There you go.
I stand right here.
Scroll down.
I don't know what that is. Ed may know. All right, I didn't cover a lot of questions today. Are there any pressing issues that we need to cover that I should have covered? I apologize for not doing the Q&A. I forgot.
Unrelated question.
Unrelated. Go ahead.
Anybody ever use the Thunderbolt ports on a MacBook Pro?
Yes.
Sure. What's the question?
What are they used for?
What are they used for? High-speed data transfer to external devices.
Okay.
You can buy an external drive that firewire.
Okay.
If you bought the old Lacy drives,
Or Thunderbolt.
if you bought the Lacy drives, they used to be called Firewire 3. Now they're called Thunderbolt, or Firewire 2, whatever.
Or a
High-speed data transfer. I use on my Mac, I have the old Thunderbolt cable. It's the same connection as the optical. It's the same connection as the optical plugs. So some people use it for high-speed monitor, for monitor, and that's the port that we use.
The new MacBook Pros only have
USB-Cs.
Marty, I'm not getting the Nmug tag on my calendar. I used to.
Yeah,
Yeah, you may.
Go into adapter hell.
Yeah.
The question question was, I'm not getting the Nmug calendar on my calendar anymore. What I suggest you do is delete the old calendar. You know, you go into calendars and delete it, and then go to our website, and where it says share, do that again. Because I did change it. And I apologize for the outage. And let me explain, our website was down for almost 2 weeks. I had nothing to do with it, believe it or not. Usually those things are my fault. Our supplier moved from one host called IX Web Hosting. They sold it to Site 5. And in doing that, they were supposed to move all our websites. Well, some websites didn't move. And then to find out the answers, they're now, instead of in the Ukraine, where I had great engineering support, I could call them anytime and get a solution. Now they're in India, and I respect India very much, and I've done a lot of technical work with them, but it's been a catastrophe. So we finally got, with Jeff Bohr's help and Christiane's help, we got that whole thing resolved, but it was just a nightmare. Yes, sir.
Coincidentally, I belong to a thing called the Learned League, which is a national and international website of daily trivia tests. And almost call it minutia, not trivia. It's just very, very challenging trivia tests. Their whole website crashed over the weekend, and it's going to take them 2 weeks to put it back up. This is a distressing development that now 2 big websites, in my experience, have completely been annihilated. I mean, can you imagine the data in a worldwide trivia contest website, and all of the data was lost?
If you back up the website, you don't lose it. It's just a matter-
Well, fortunately, the guy who runs it had local backup.
I mean, they're supposed to do that, and our host is supposed to do that, and I do it for us. So getting it restored wasn't the problem, it was getting the links restored, because when you change your website, you change the addresses, pointers don't know where to point, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Crazy. Any other questions that I should have asked for earlier?
How do I limit Nmug notices to digest only?
How do you do that? Sign into your Yahoo account, and when you go to your account, you'll have choices on the right-hand side. Touch my account, and it'll give you the choice of daily, digest only, or never. There are 3 choices. If you have trouble, email me and I'll send you the screenshot.
I just wonder if anyone has experience with both Verizon and AOL simultaneously. Because I've had AOL for a long time, and Verizon dropped their Verizon.net email and went to AOL, and now I can't get Verizon anymore.
Because that's for your email address?
Yes.
You're saying it's now called something else?
Verizon sold over, took over, did something with AOL.
They bought AOL.
They moved all their mail to AOL. Now I get my AOL, but I can't get my Verizon as well.
But you should, my understanding is that it's now all AOL and you don't have to get.
No,
Verizon
they said I could keep my old Verizon address.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So if I send you something with at Verizon.net, it'll come to you?
Yeah.
And you'll see it in the AOL account?
Well, that's the problem. Right now, I can't, I used to be able to see it, but now I can't see it at all.
I'd suggest you call customer service. I'm not familiar with what they do.
My daughter has a Verizon address and it still works.
She has what, Verizon and it still works?
Verizon.net address and it still works.
All right, that's what I wondered if anyone, you know.
I call customer service. They're still messing around with those 2.
Or the office is right down the street, you can walk out to the trail, there's a Verizon store there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
How do you delete a calendar from calendars?
How do you delete a calendar? Or
I'm trying to delete those, and most, I can't seem to find a way to delete it.
If you go down to the bottom where it says calendar, you can't delete that calendar. If I go down here to calendars, and I pick one, like contact, not contact, let's pick, we'll pick the Nmug calendar. I'll text this guy.
On security?
I can turn it off. I turn it off by just touching the.
I know how to turn it off already.
Turn off that guy. Now the question is, how do I delete it?
Can you swipe it?
Swipe it to the left.
No, swiping doesn't work. And the eye doesn't work, so it must be in settings.
I don't know why it's
I don't know what else to the settings.
office or something. Never mind.
So in settings, if you go to accounts and passwords, here's subscribe calendars. See this,
Okay.
this guy right here? Subscribe calendars. Those are all my subscribe calendars. There's a little gray arrow. I'm going to touch the gray arrow, and here are my calendars. Right, so here's the Nmug calendar. If I touch that gray arrow,
No, that's the wrong
it
address.
gives me a choice to delete it.
All right.
And I delete it. So in settings, accounts and passwords, subscribe, and then delete.
Thank you. That works.
So that's what I have to do. So we have to do. Okay, other questions? Anything?
And I think going with me, how do you share that?
How do you share your card? You're looking at contacts?
Yes.
Touch it. Touch it to open it.
Let's see.
Do it open it. I couldn't see it. And down here it says, so, touch my card, it opens my card, and I have a choice that says share contact. Different on the phone.
Yeah. Marty, you said your show size set up on my card?
Yes. Let me do that. Let's do this. So the right-hand side is my phone. And your question was, how do I share my card? So on a phone, my card is there. And when I scroll down, so what I've done here is I've gone to my card, right? Contacts, my card. And I scroll down, and it says share contact. So I don't know why yours is not showing share contact, but that's the same thing we did before. Now the question is, how do I make my card? In settings, you go to contacts. You go scroll down to contacts, right? Everybody with me here? I'm in settings. I scroll to contacts. And the last thing here, next to last thing says my info, right? I don't know why it doesn't say my card, but it, so my info, and if I touch that little gray arrow, it opens my address book and says, okay, which of these things do you want to use for your card, from my card? Now, in my case, I have several Marty Dorios, but I want to use this one, not these. So I'm going to use this guy. And I touch it. And back in settings, contacts, it shows me my info is Marty Dorio 905. So now back in my address book, that's what appears as my card, as my first card. Now, if I wanted to use a different one, I would use a different one.
But how do you get a picture of it?
Well, I just held up the phone and won my class. I know that picture.
How many?
How do I get a picture on my card?
That's
easy.
I didn't say what it says, take picture.
Edit. And then over here it says edit. And if there's no image there, it will say add picture or whatever, take photo. When you do edit, it gives you a choice of photo, choosing a photo, editing a photo, or deleting it. So I could choose a photo from my address book, or what I did in class one day to demonstrate, I would just open this up, That's why I have just my face there, not a full photo.
How many cards can you make? Like my cards?
No, you can only make one.
For each device you would
You
do
can
that?
have a different
One
one.
on each device?
You can have a different one. yeah. Other questions? So next week, Jerry is going to ask you all for my cards, and they better all have a picture. What he's going to do is make you do this again. Thank you very much. Have a good week.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you.